Anderson here from A Healing Place Complete Counseling Care in Neenah, Wisconsin. So here's a story I want to start this video with. It's called The Wise Woman. So there was a wise woman outside of a city, and a group of travelers came up to her and said, "Oh, wise woman, what are the people like in this city?" And she said, "What are the people like in the city you just came from?" And they went on to say, "Oh, they were horrible people. All they ever did was steal from you. They would talk about you. They were rude. They gossiped. They would steal from you if they've got the chance to." The wise woman looked at them sadly and said, "Unfortunately, you will find this people in this city the same." So the wise woman was outside of the city, and another group of travelers came up to her and said, "Oh, wise woman, what are the people in the city like?" And she asked them, "What were the people in the city like that you came from?" And they said, "Oh my gosh, the most great people in the world. They would give you the shirt off their back. They were friendly, they were neighborly, they were kind, they were thoughtful. We hated leaving them." And the wise woman smiled at them and said, "Fortunately, you will find that the people in this city are the same." The moral of the story is the way you tend to see people or the way you tend to view the world is what you will receive. So if you see things negatively, you will get negative. If you see things positively, you will get positive. The people in the city hadn't changed. It was just the view of the travelers that made that difference. Now, why am I bringing this up today? Because I've noticed a lot of negative comments on Facebook, and it concerns me because negativity is catchy. We absorb it and we start becoming negative. But the great thing is positivity can be catchy too. And so I consistently try to put positive messages out there to try and help people understand that it's their choice in how they think. I've talked about this before. How you think affects how you feel, which will affect how you behave. So if I have negative thinking, I'm going to have negative feelings, which is going to give me negative behavior. If I have positive thoughts, positive feelings, positive behavior. That doesn't mean that people who have more positive thinking don't have bad things happen to them or they don't have struggles. It just means they choose to see it differently than maybe a person who has negative thinking. And the nice thing about this is it's a skill set. You can change your thinking. Now, you are going against biology somewhat because our brain's whole purpose is to keep us alive, so it will consistently scan the environment for negativity. Now, that makes us prone to look for negatives. That doesn't mean, however, that we can't change that. We absolutely can change that. And the way you do that is you start challenging those thoughts. You start intervening those thoughts. So if you start having a negative thought, you can think to yourself, "No, that's not the way I'm going to see this today. I saw something else. I'm going to focus on that instead." So that you start training the brain to look for more of the positive versus the negative. You know, the thing that people who are more positive think differently is this. When something tragic does happen to them, just like anything can happen to any one of us, we all have sad stories in our past. We all have events that we had to get through, and we did get through them. But people who are positive know, first of all, temporary. This is going to end at some point. Second of all, they know that they will be okay. They know that though this is a hurtful and painful thing to get through, in the end, they will be okay. And the third thing is they learn a lesson from it. They don't make it just be as something that happened to them and not learn a lesson. So one of the things that I'm hoping that will happen with COVID-19 is that people's lessons here will be to be more grateful for the things that they had that they didn't even realize they had, like going and getting a cup of coffee, or getting to hug a family member, or getting to see a friend that they haven't seen in a while, or going to a movie, all the things that have been somewhat stripped from us. I'm hoping that people will take the lessons of this and not make this be in vain and really use these lessons. I've seen families pulling together and smiling and talking and walking. I've seen neighbors waving and shouting to each other across their lawns and discussing yard work or discussing how they're doing. I've seen many, many organizations do fundraisers to get money to people who don't have food or get money to businesses. So I see again and again and again this positive movement happening. But I also see the other side of it. The people debating about should we or should we not shelter at home. To people saying, one person saying my business is important, another person saying people's lives are important. And what's unfortunate about this is it consistently rotates on that negativity. It continues that negativity momentum that unfortunately grows very quickly. It takes literally 6 positive comments to undo 1 negative comment. So imagine if there's that much negativity on social media, and then you got some positivity on social media. That social media would have to outgun that negativity 6 to 1 just to surpass it. And unfortunately, most people look more negative than they look positive, because again, it's a skill set, and it's a hard skill set to get. So how do you do that? How do you get that skill set? You start thinking about ways to think positive. So I, every night before I go to bed, find at least one, but minimum one, I try to do 3 good things that happened to me that day, and I write them down. And I write them down because I want some type of historical reference to go back to. And so every night I do that before I go to bed, and I have so many good things. And what's really great about it is on New Year's Eve, I go back through my little book and I read all the great things that happened to me all year, and it just feels so great. So I look for gratefulness. I look for things to be positive about. I also try to have a grateful heart, meaning I do try to recognize that what's going on with that other person probably really has nothing to do with me, and it has to do with whatever internal struggle is going on with them. And I could just be the person who's receiving that negativity. So I really try to stay with gratefulness and kindness to others and recognize this probably isn't about me. Now, am I 100% at this? No. I am known to have a bit of a fast temper. I'm known to be impatient. So I have to work on this skill all the time. And some days I'm really, really successful, and other days not so much, but I keep trying and I keep working at it, and I keep trying to get that more positivity, because I know that in the end, it's going to be okay. No matter what that expectation or what that was supposed to be, however it turned out was how it was meant to be. And that's really a belief system that I carry, that I believe that it will be okay, and whatever it turns out to be will be what it is, and I will be okay with however it turns out. That happened in my business, that's happened in the way we've traveled, that's happened in many parts of my life where I didn't think it was supposed to turn out this way, and it did. In fact, I have story after story after story of my life doing that. And finally, another thing that I do is, if I do have a negative thought come in, and it sometimes takes over and gets those negative feelings going, I have to just honor that negativity feeling. Let's say it's sadness, or it's frustration, or it's anger. I remind myself I have the right to feel the feeling, and I can observe the feeling, and I can respond to the feeling, but not react. Responding is, geez, I'm feeling sad here. It's really hurting me. I think I'm just going to sit here and let myself feel that sadness, and maybe tear up a little bit, or just ask my loved one, please give me a little time while I honor my sadness. It's not me walking around crying and falling to the floor and I can't move on and I might as well end my life. And that's reacting to sadness. You have control over your emotions. The other thing that I do, and I really train my clients to do, is learn to quiet their mind. So I started out with just 30 seconds in the morning where I just lay there and focused in on my breathing, and thoughts would come in, but I would push them out. I am now up to 15 minutes where I can sit there quietly and just allow myself to breathe. I continue to grow that. I want to get up to 30 minutes. That's my goal. Some really good books that can help with that part of it, which is meditation, is the first one I would recommend is Untethered Soul. Very good book, really talks about how the mind works and why it works and how meditation works. Now, a couple warnings. First of all, the first 3 chapters are a little difficult to get through because there's a lot of repetition. But once you get through that, it's a really good book. And the end part is really a lot about spirituality and God. And if you're not very religious, don't let that put you off. I'm not necessarily a religious person, but I took that from that what I could as far as the way I look at spirituality. The other book I want to recommend is 10% Happier by Dan Harris. Dan Harris is a news anchor on Good Morning America, and really had to learn how to change the way he thinks about things, because he realized how much his negative thinking was impacting his career, his relationship, and his life. So all of those pieces that he needed to do to change that, he wrote about in that book. So they're both really good. Now, I listen to Audibles because I travel a lot, but if you want to read them, please do so. And in the meantime, really start working on the 3 things I talked about: trying to be grateful, intervening or looking at that thought and seeing how you can change it, and just honoring your emotion. If you can do those 3 things, you will find that you will start feeling better and happier. Please take care of yourselves. This is Lisa Anderson, and have a great day.